with Russia. The collusion delusion. Robert Mueller never received a vote, put 13 of the angriest Democrats in the history of our country on the commission.
Every time the Democrats think they've got a gotcha point on President Trump, there's no there there.
The new Green Deal, or whatever the hell they call it, I think it's really something that they should promote. Democrat lawmakers are now embracing socialism.
Going to win the Democratic nomination, which is not only going to defeat Donald Trump, is the most dangerous president.
Only capitalism creates wealth. Socialism spends the money that capitalism creates.
American Indian, why did you check those boxes?
Decades ago, I sometimes identified as Native American.
Universities kind of fudged and used you.
I shouldn't have done it.
For too many years, I was loyal to a man when I should not have been. Now I know how Khloe Kardashian feels.
I'm so angry I couldn't even wear a jacket.
So I think we're going to do even better in 2020.
Freedom, freedom. That is what this day, if you're looking for a theme of this Sunday, well, every Fox and Friends, really. But this Sunday edition of Fox and Friends, freedom. That's it. That's all you're going to get all morning.
It's National Anthem Day, so it's even more freedom.
National Anthem Day.
National Anthem Day.
Listen, I live in Georgetown in Washington, D.C., and I live right near the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
You do. The War of 1812, apparently it was finalized in 1814. Woodrow Wilson did it via executive order, but then I think it was who?
Hoover.
Herbert Hoover made it formally our national anthem, which we love on this program. No kneeling here. And I think we're going to do it right on Fox and Friends this morning.
We are. We're going to celebrate National Anthem Day all day today.
All morning long.
We're going to talk about some speeches. There were a few yesterday.
Was there? Wait, a few combined into one?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So if you missed it yesterday, you missed it. In fact, I missed it in real time, and a lot of you probably did too, because it was Saturday afternoon. You may have been doing things with the family, who knows, catching up on some chores. Well, President Trump took to CPAC after his trip to Hanoi. He hit the stage. He didn't just hit the stage. He hit it for 2 hours and 2 minutes, the longest speech of his presidency. And you could tell he was happy to be amongst his people, amongst his base, and boy, did he deliver. This is the president. If you missed it yesterday, we got the highlights for you yesterday at CPAC.
You're energized, you mobilized, and you're engaged. Russia, the collusion delusion. Unfortunately, you put the wrong people in a couple of positions, and they leave people for a long time that shouldn't be there, and all of a sudden, they're trying to take you out with bull. Okay? We will always defend America's borders. Our immigration system is so broken, folks. The new Green Deal, or whatever the hell they call it. The Green New Deal, right? I encourage it. I think it's really something that they should promote. I just want to be the Republican that runs against them. Could that be? We believe in the American dream, not in the socialist nightmare. Democrat lawmakers have totally abandoned the American mainstream, but that's going to be good for us in 2020. They're embracing open borders, socialism, and extreme late-term abortion. We're going to do it, I think, again in 2020, and the numbers are going to be even bigger.
Rachel, where do we start?
Well, let's just start with how he came out on stage. How awesome was that? He comes out and he just hugs the flag. And you know, I talked to some people about it afterwards, and they just said, you know, this is what I love about Donald Trump. They can say whatever they want. In my deepest part of me, I believe he loves America. And that moment, I mean, I can't imagine any other Democrat running for Congress or for president that would have made that gesture.
Well, that's a good point. You know, I covered CPAC for 23 years, going back to my radio days, and in an off-election year, CPAC doesn't really get as much attention. There aren't candidates, and of course, you have an incumbent Republican president. So the expectation that anything significant and huge was going to happen in CPAC were low until Donald Trump, who has now proven that he fully has command of the understanding of the media and the power of what to do, and he gives this speech, and it is what everyone is going to talk about today and likely throughout this week.
Boy, that's right. CPAC can be a contentious place.
It can.
It's where new currents of conservatism or whatever you want will make their way in. And this is as united as it's ever been seen. The base is completely behind this president. He talked, one of the biggest applause lines, free speech. He brought the kid who was punched in Berkeley up on stage with him. We're going to have him on the show later on today. He talked about free markets, how socialism is about power for the ruling class. He talked about foreign policy. One of the stories he told was, we spent $7 trillion in the Middle East, and I can't even land Air Force One with the lights on. I mean, he has an amazing way of telling that story. He talked about free trade, and he talked about telling jokes and having fun. How the fake news media takes you literally all the time, no matter what. He said, Russia, where are the emails? Find me Hillary's emails. And he's clearly part of what he does. He's an entertainer. He went off script. If you haven't seen this speech, go back and watch it. You can see it at foxnation.com. You can see it at foxnews.com. An amazing case for nationalism without really even saying it. Love your country, protect your country. Yeah. It's what we've got.
It was a message for America, but it was also a message to other lawmakers. If you are a Republican in the U.S. House or Senate and you watch that, they got exactly what you said, Pete. This is a base that is united around Donald Trump. And so that's why you see someone like John Cornyn saying, we're going to stick by the president. Take a look.
This is actually a...
Oh, it's not a clip. I'm sorry. It's a quote. I'm sorry. We're not going to turn on our own and make the Democrats happy. That's something the base wants to hear because the base needs to be united to take on 2020.
And it comes as we expect the Senate soon to vote on the House resolution. Now, remember, the House passed the resolution to block the presidential declaration. We know a few Republican senators have indicated that they may vote with Democrats. That's a strong message.
Remember, the full context is they tried for 2.5 years to pass something meaningful on the wall. The Republicans couldn't do it. Democrats won't do it. He tried legislatively. He has the constitutional authority to declare this emergency. He has. And yet still there's weak-spined Republicans out there that won't stand with the president. That's what John Cornyn's saying is, it's clear. Now's the time to stand with him.
Well, we'll find out. When the Senate does vote, Mitch McConnell said they will vote.
But Griff, I know you watched the speech, but after the fact, because you were busy doing something else.
Yes.
I didn't see the president speak because I was at a Bernie Sanders rally.
Now,
how
yesterday at the same time, Senator Bernie Sanders, the same place he started a campaign that became a socialist movement in 2016. He was back there. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
I want to thank all of you for being part of a campaign which is not only going to win the Democratic nomination, going to defeat Donald Trump, who is the most dangerous president in modern American history. We are going to transform this country. Principles of our government will not be greed, hatred, and lies. Campaign is going to end all of that.
Now, the key word there, transformation, that's what he's talking about. There was some 10,000 or so folks out there. It was cold, but they're true believers, and a little later I'll play for you when I talk to some of the supporters about how they identify with socialism. And
you were there. I wasn't at either of these speeches, but I look at that speech and I look at the speech at CPAC. One looks fun and one looks glum. I'm sorry. That looks so boring and negative. And by the way, how can he call the president dangerous? I mean, what's dangerous is, you know, introducing socialism to this country. And by the way, the code words in there, I need to see if I can find it here. He says, you know...
Use transform.
Yeah, he says we need to transform America. There were all these code words which were for socialism.
Absolutely. Listen, this is a guy who, he did it in Brooklyn because he was born in Brooklyn. You hear the accent. He was born in Brooklyn, but he honeymooned in the Soviet Union. Yep. Okay, so...
We all do that, Pete. Come on.
Do we all do that?
Everyone. Bahamas, and Moscow.
Your point is, Barack Obama famously said he wants to fundamentally transform America.
He did say
Use the word transform.
Yeah.
It's not about restoring. It's not about fulfilling the promise of our founders. It's not improving the promise of our founders. It's transforming. It's going to some other system. And that's why the president is on such high ground when he says, I'm going to defend this America against those who hate the idea of America. That's a sound.
And I like that he's so stark. I mean, we used to kind of pussyfoot around a little bit. You know, they never really said socialism. We talked about more freedom. Now it's capitalism versus socialism. Let's talk about it. By the way, I found the code words. The underlying principles of our government will not be greed, hatred, and lies. If you know anything about socialism, those are the code words.
Yeah,
those
that's how they play the game.
Well,
Griff, but you talked to some folks?
I talked to the crowd. We'll get to it in the next half hour. And, you know, one of the really significant things here to remember is that when Sanders was saying it, as you point out in 2016, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's saying that. Now he's the perceived front runner, at least until Joe Biden gets into this race. He is the perceived front runner, and so many of the other candidates are saying what he's saying. And so the dueling speeches really are quite significant.
Yeah.
He's definitely the thought leader.
So you're going to hear from Bernie supporters at 6:30 on our program. Do not miss that.
Do not miss it. It's awesome.
I may have brought you a gift from that rally.
Did you? Save it. Save it. I want to know what it is. All right, last night I also didn't watch this. Maybe you did, but I caught this clip. Saturday Night Live did a shtick on the Michael Cohen hearing. Listen.
Thank you for inviting me here today to correct the record under oath. Of course, the first time I testified was also under oath. But this time I really mean it.
You lying piece of human trash! I'm so angry I couldn't even wear a jacket today.
I would like us both to lean into our New York accents so hard that our viewers will think they're stuck in line at Save Us.
Forget about it. I know that I was wrong. And I know it because I got caught. For too many years, I was loyal to a man when I should not have been. Now I know how Khloe Kardashian feels.
Of course, that was if you don't know, that was a reference to Khloe Kardashian and the Tristan saga. Wow, it was fun.
That,
I thought I'd fill you in on
apparently
that.
That's a thing. Listen, I mean, they went at some pretty easy material there. It was sort of funny, but the reality is Michael Cohen did make. Were you lying then, or were you lying now? That's the larger point.
Ben Stiller's really funny. Listen, that was
a funny guy.
I laughed out loud. But Michael Cohen, by the way, will be back on the Hill this week testifying again. They're pulling him back to the House Intelligence Committee to testify behind closed doors. We won't see it, but we believe that it's going to lead to more hearings, more investigations.
That's right. The list of hearings coming out of the Cohen hearings, or in addition to the Cohen hearings, is growing longer and longer every day. Every Democratic House committee is fighting to get to the front of the line of who's going to be the lead of the trash Trump caucus. You just wait. More is coming.
This is what the president encapsulated as BS in his speech.
BS is code for you kids out there. All right, email us, friends@foxnews.com. What do you think of the president's speech? What do you think of Bernie wanting to transform our country? What do you think of Saturday Night Live? Friends@foxnews.com. Plenty of material this morning.
Fun morning.
We love the
keep
weekends.
showing those clips.
It should be a weekend every day.
We're just going to talk for 2 hours and 2 minutes, and then we'll get back to the next
I was just going to say we should just roll the speech for the whole morning. Whatever. All right, President Trump rallied CPAC, and to some on other networks, it sounded like Hitler.
Makes me sick. On a personal level, preserving our heritage, reclaiming our heritage, that sounds a lot like a certain leader that killed members of my family and about 6 million other Jews.
Oh, thank you, Samantha. Media reaction to the president's speech coming up next.
Plus, an emotional show of patriotism going viral. Firefighters rushed to save an American flag while battling this burning inferno. The chief says it was the right thing to do, and they're going to join us coming up.
Great.
Life is not tried.
The men and women here today are on the front lines of protecting America's interest, defending America's value, and reclaiming our nation's priceless heritage.
President Trump's...
On a personal level, preserving our heritage, reclaiming our heritage, that sounds a lot like a certain leader that killed members of my family and about 6 million other Jews in the 1940s.
President Trump's impassioned CPAC speech blasted by one CNN analyst who compared it to something Hitler would say. Here to react.
Brandon Tatum is Director of Urban Engagement at Turning Point USA. He joins us now to react. What do you think, Brandon? That's a very interesting takeaway from the president's speech.
Yeah, I think two things that the left is doing here, and one is that they continue to lie to folks, and two is that they're willing to be disingenuous about real victims. The Holocaust was a real thing. Hitler was a real evil person. Donald Trump is literally doing the complete opposite by giving people opportunities, giving people life through economic growth and all of the things that we talk about. So she should be ashamed of herself and everybody else on the left that's trying to paint this man as anything other than being pro-American.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You're right. Decentralizing and giving power back to people doesn't sound very dictatorial or fascist. However, there's more to this story. So let's take a look at what Biden said in 2011. It sounds very similar.
It's time to fight back. It's time to reclaim our heritage.
Brandon, Samantha Vinograd works for the Biden Institute. Very interesting that you would choose that line of attack.
Yeah, she has to. These people have to be deranged. They have to create chaos. They cannot agree with the president. If they do, their party and everything that they stand for will be abolished forever. President Trump is doing such a great job. He was so impactful at CPAC. I mean, just energized people. When he hugged the flag, I mean, that was absolutely amazing. It just shows how much he loved this country. And it really speaks to what everybody else feels and why he's so popular amongst a lot of Americans.
Do you think they jump to these really extreme examples like Hitler because there's a fear that maybe he's resonating, that maybe there's results? What is it? Why jump to that?
Well, I agree with it's that, and also they have to project onto us what they're actually doing. The things that they're preaching is hateful, divisive, evil. Antifa is literally a military arm of some of the objectives that they have. So they have to project it on us so that the American people can't see that they're really the ones perpetuating these things.
But quickly, Brandon, we're almost out of time. What about the hypocrisy of it all?
Yeah, they're complete hypocrites, and it's sad that they hate Donald Trump so much that they're willing to be disingenuous and lie to their own base and lie to people in this country. It's sad. They hate them, and they hate Trump more than they love America, and it's sad.
That's tough. Brandon Tatum, thanks for joining us. Have a good Sunday.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, guys. Y'all be blessed.
It's the return of the burn, and Sanders supporters absolutely love it.
Bernie Sanders' sense of democratic socialism is not really any type of radical socialism.
We need a government that does not serve the 1%.
All right, Griff will tell us about the young crowd backing Bernie just ahead.
Feeling the burn. All right, plus, take a look at this. Firefighters going viral after they save an American flag while battling a burning building. All because the chief says it was the right thing to do. Meet them next.
Back with some quick headlines. Police make an arrest in this horrific hit and run that left a 19-year-old in critical condition. Zachary Brock faces 2 felony charges, including leaving the scene of a crash and driving without a license. Police say Brock turned into oncoming traffic, clipping an Audi, forcing it to roll several times through a Florida parking lot. The victim's father said he has severe brain trauma. So sad. 2 California police officers will not face charges in a deadly shooting of an unarmed black man. That happened nearly a year ago.
They are often forced to make split-second decisions. They are under tense, uncertain, and rapidly evolving circumstances.
The DA says Stephon Clark was standing in a shooting position and holding a cell phone mistaken for a gun. Her decision was met with protests.
No justice!
No peace!
No killer!
Police!
Clark's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit.
There you go. Burning Blue Lives Matter flags. Great. Wonderful. All right, take a look at this Virginia firefighter realizing that they couldn't save a burning lodge. In that moment, they made a split-second decision to save some precious cargo at that lodge, an American flag. The duo were able to lower Old Glory as the flames raged just feet away.
And here to tell us all about it is Hopewell Fire Chief Donnie Hunter and firefighter Timmy Sibula. Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. Tell us what happened.
We were about an hour and a half into the fire at the Hopewell Moose Lodge when we noticed a moose flag fall into the fire. We figured the American and Virginia flag were probably close to the same fate, so we took that opportunity to go up and save the flag as kind of a symbol of hope, hopefully for the moose in there, having no idea it would turn into a social media storm.
Well, the photo is spectacular, the images. Somebody was obviously taking video and picture of that. I'm sure you're, as a unit, you guys are very happy to have that photo, because I think it's really, look at today, the day we're celebrating today, National Anthem Day. What an image to capture for you.
Yes, ma'am. It's overwhelming, and it makes us proud too.
I'm sure.
Absolutely, Timmy. You said you saw your chief heading in to do it, and you said he's not going to do it alone. I'm going to go in as well. What is the impetus? Because some on the left and in our country say, well, that's just a piece of cloth. You know, I mean, what does that flag mean to you, and why did you go in with your chief?
Well, here, working in the fire department, we work together in teams, and seeing my fire chief go up there, that gives me a lot of respect for him. And the flag means a lot to us, especially in the fire service. We're based on tradition, and the flag means everything.
Chief, let me ask you, is there something in your upbringing? I mean, is there something that really gave you a sense as when you saw that flag in distress, you leapt into action?
I think it's just, my father instilled it in me. He was a veteran. The fire department's very paramilitary, and we respect the flag like our military does. So, like I said, the best statement I think was it just felt like the right thing to do, because it's a symbol and it's a little bit of hope, and it was really hope for the Hopewell Moose. Not, that's where we expected it to go, not where it went. So.
And you handed the flag back to the people who own the Moose Lodge. Is that correct?
Yes, I was actually able to hand it back to the governor, Brian Carpenter, who's the governor of the Moose there in Hopewell, and it was actually a little bit sentimental, and little touching to have that ceremony and give it back to him. I think it meant a lot to them as much as it meant to us. So.
And let's not forget, Chief and Timmy, you guys were fighting that raging fire for an hour and a half before you took action on that flag, and ultimately that's the type of thing guys like you do every day in our communities. Why did you, Timmy, to you briefly, why did you serve up to serve your country, serve your community?
It's just what I've always wanted to do. I enjoy getting on the fire truck every day, and I don't have the opportunity that I may do in this country. I enjoy coming to work every day and putting my life on the line. I know the risk, but I love my job.
Chief, thank you, and Timmy, thank you for what you do for this country on National Anthem Day, which is what it is today. It's really a powerful story to tell. Thank you for joining us.
A small symbol that says so much. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, well, freshman Congresswoman Ilhan Omar from my wonderful state, accused of making even more anti-Semitic remarks. After a few, maybe she really believes it. Is her spot in the Foreign Affairs Committee in jeopardy?
Plus, it's the return of the burn. I went to see what all the buzz is about.
Bernie Sanders' sense of democratic socialism is not really any type of radical socialism.
We need a government that does not serve the 1%.
Thank all of you for being part of a campaign which is not only going to win the Democratic nomination, it's not only going to defeat Donald Trump, who is the most dangerous president in modern American history. We are going to transform this country and finally create an economy and a government which works for all of us, not just the 1%.
They were feeling the burn. Bernie Sanders returning to Brooklyn, where it all began in 2016, and his army of supporters were certainly 100% behind him.
They were fired up.
Here's what we found in Brooklyn.
I'm dying to see this.
Griff went and talked to the folks.
Watch. Bernie Sanders identifies with socialism. Do you identify with that?
I think that Bernie Sanders' sense of democratic socialism is not really any type of radical socialism.
We need a government that does not serve the 1%. We need to stop all these wars of intervention, these regime change wars, and we need to focus on the United States.
I do think that there needs to be that element of capitalism at play, but I think that we are long overdue for some really strong socialist involvement.
It's not really like this crazy outlandish label. It's more of just being able to support people who may not be able to support themselves. So that's what Bernie believes. That's something that we as the like the young people going out to vote are caring about.
Honestly, I don't even know what socialism is. What does it mean? I don't know. I don't care. He's just for the people.
If you had to pick one issue that matters most to you for the Bernie platform, what is it?
I think it would have to be college for all.
I would say climate change. I think everyone has a right to a job and to health care and to education. We can pay for this. We're the richest country in the world.
If you look at our society today, capitalism is destroying itself. We have socialism for the rich in the United States, only for the rich.
Some people in America hear the word socialism and they get afraid.
I understand that. My parents are Cuban. And my parents are Cuban immigrants. They left what is actually communism. You know, Cuba is very different. Communism in Cuba is very different from democratic socialism. We're talking about democracy. Democracy and equality.
It's not about being socialist. It's not about being a Democrat or Republican. We want the things that other countries are able to afford.
Are you Bernie Sanders all the way, can't be dissuaded?
That is my stance. I am a big fan of Tulsi Gabbard.
I'm committed to Bernie. He's the only candidate, I think, in the Democratic field right now that is a true progressive. I love Bernie Sanders. I love this man more than anything in this world, and I want to see him as 2020 as the president.
I covered dozens of Sanders rallies in 2016, to include the one in Washington Square at the end of the primary season. There was more than 25,000 people there, probably about 10,000 there.
That's a lot, though.
It was.
It's cold. It was cold.
He started a movement. He started a campaign that became a movement. Now, when you're on the campaign trail, you get the buttons and the T-shirts. So, Peter, I brought you a T-shirt.
You brought me a gift
This is
from the Bernie rally?
The most popular T-shirt at the Sanders rally.
Oh, boy. There we Oh, Friends of Trump.
Yes,
No,
sure it
no,
says
it's
that.
a four-letter word.
Wait, fans of Trump?
No, it rhymes with duck.
Oh.
It's pretty direct in the
Okay.
message.
Well,
And also
all right.
for-
Well, I'll modify it as I
you,
see fit.
Very quickly, I brought you some buttons, Rachel. Burners for Bernie, and hindsight is 2020.
I think Burners for Bernie really sums up that rally, if you ask me.
A lot of them were burning it up before that. Not sure what socialism represents. My family's from Cuba, but I'm for socialism. And, you know, we want the things that others can afford. They just don't understand, like the blanket of freedom we live under, like we pay for this military that protects all these people. It's
I know.
nonsense.
It's pretty dangerous to peddle socialism. But anyway, we got to take a hard turn here and do some headlines. So, a driver plows into a crowd in New Orleans overnight, killing 2 people and injuring 6 others. 3 of those hurt are in critical condition. The driver is in custody and facing several charges, including vehicular homicide. Officers are investigating a cause. They believe the suspect may have been intoxicated. Once again, Congressman Ilhan Omar is under fire for more comments. Critics call them anti-Semitic. Speaking at an event in Washington, Omar said, quote, "I want to talk about the political influence in this country that says it's okay for people to push for allegiance to a foreign country." It's the latest controversial comment she's made about the United States' loyalty to Israel. Fellow Democrat and House Foreign Affairs Committee Chair Eliot Engel is demanding she apologize. Parents outraged, saying their children were told to remove their MAGA gear at an Arizona school. The students wore the clothes and carried a Trump flag for their school's Party in the USA Spirit Day. One student was actually suspended. A school spokesperson says the suspension was not related to the MAGA gear, but did not give any other reason for it. Some lawmakers want to take tackling out of youth football. A proposed no-hits bill in Massachusetts would ban tackling for kids until after the 7th grade. Supporters point to, I can see
Oh, boy.
Pete's rolling his eyes right next to me. Supporters point to recent studies about the sport's long-term effects on the brain. Critics argue state lawmakers should not get involved. If passed, the law would hit leagues that don't comply with financial penalties. And those are your headlines.
Let's all just cuddle.
Good for them. Get rid of them.
Good for them.
Just wrap them in bubble wrap.
Rick, you support tackle football.
Well, also, isn't it probably better if you're under like 7th grade?
Yeah, because they're basically just running into each other.
Yeah,
no
also
actual
like
real
everything
hitting.
about our bodies is completely fine at that point. It's
Malleable.
like mosh and malleable and whatever doesn't do any damage. It's like the tackling when you're 38 is where the problem may be.
Big problem.
I'm not a doctor. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But that's
Thank
what
you for
it's
the
like when
advice.
you ski and you're a little kid, you fall over and like nothing happens.
Absolutely.
But like if
When
I
you're
ski and
38,
I
you
fall
tear your
over-
ACL.
Exactly.
correct.
Yeah, not to mention 49. All right, guys. Severe weather today down across parts of the south, including some tornadoes. It's going to be later on this afternoon, so be very careful of this. This is all part of the system that's bringing snow to the north of it. So Florida, you're fine. In fact, you're well above average. Again, you've been so hot. That continues. You do cool down. by Wednesday into Thursday. Here's the storm, the rain starting, and then the snow to the north of this. Right now across I-70 and 80, it's a quick-moving storm, so the snowfall totals won't be huge, but they might be huger across the Northeast than we've seen at any other point this year. So here's the severe weather, 4 o'clock today. There you see the snow across the Ohio Valley, starting in across parts of the cities, Philadelphia, D.C., up to New York later on this afternoon. Griff, don't worry, you're going to get your flight out just fine. If it were later on today, it might be a problem. The snow will be out of here by tomorrow, but tomorrow morning's commute across parts of the Northeast will probably be tough, and it's going to be cool behind the storm, so the snow won't go away in the next couple of days.
Not yet. Spring's on its way, but not yet.
But no snowball fight today. It all melted.
It is. It's gone. I know. The beauty about snow this time of year, the sun angle is so high it doesn't stick around too long.
Perfect. All right, thanks.
That sounds like science.
It is.
Thank you.
It does. Thanks, Rick. Is this country going to pot? Democrat Cory Booker wants to make it legal to smoke it nationwide, but Dr. Mark Siegel has an important warning that you need to hear. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Well, 2020 Democratic long shot hopeful Cory Booker really wants marijuana to be legalized at the federal level. And some of his fellow Democratic presidential candidates, well, they're joining him.
And so here you have people being punished for doing things that 2 of the last 3 presidents admitted to doing. We need to understand that this was a war on people, and there are casualties who are still suffering for lifetime sentences.
In a Fox News op-ed, our next guest has a warning about smoking pot, saying heavy pot smoking has now been linked to this strange syndrome, which we'll get him to talk about. Here to discuss is Fox News contributor Dr. Mark Siegel. Doctor, thanks for being here.
Pete, great to see you.
So marijuana is a big part of the discussion, whether it's recreational, medicinal, decriminalization. What's your take?
Well, first of all, medically, I see advantage. And 33 states already have it medically legal. Now, what do I like about it? I think it can decrease nausea, especially if you're on chemotherapy for cancer, for chronic pain syndromes. It's useful. It's useful for seizures. I would like to be able to prescribe it. That's already true in 30.
That's medicinal.
That's medicinal. I think there's an argument to be made for decriminalizing it, because I'm not sure that anyone that is using it should be subject to prosecution.
Meaning it's not legal, but you can't be thrown in jail for 10 years for it.
Exactly, and that's a problem, and I like the idea in this Marijuana Justice Act that Cory Booker is pushing that maybe it could be decriminalized. The problem with this bill, and the reason I think it's a pipe dream, is this. Here's the problem. Long-term use of marijuana has many problems associated with it, and it's a straw man argument to compare it to alcohol or cigarettes, which if we knew that cigarettes were going to cause lung cancer, maybe it wouldn't be legal. Maybe nicotine wouldn't be legal. The problem with marijuana is long-term, it leads to behavioral problems, it leads to paranoia, it leads to anxiety, it leads to depression. Pregnant women are now smoking it like never before for morning sickness. It leads to behavioral problems in their infants, in their children. So it's a huge problem, and I uncovered this syndrome called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, where up to 1/3 of people who are chronic smokers, Pete, end up with intractable vomiting that they have to take hot showers to reverse. It's ridiculous. So people out there don't know the long-term impact here. And if it's made recreationally available, it's going to be in all of our products, and you're going to get a lot more of it than you realize.
Doctor, what do you make of the idea? Because I hear a lot of smart, thoughtful, especially libertarian folks saying, listen, people should be free to choose. We live in a free country. We could tax it as a result. It's no worse, as you said in their argument, than alcohol or cigarettes. Why is marijuana the place to hold the line?
Well, it's the place to hold the line because it's invisible, the effects, until you have them. And that's number one. Number two, a study out of Washington State where it was made legal showed that there's a marked decrease in awareness of its long-term harm, Pete, in 8th and 10th graders. The very people we want to know that it can hurt you if you take too much are busy now saying it can't hurt you, it's legal. It's legal, it's fine. Then we're seeing big business sticking it into cosmetics, into candy, into all kinds of edibles, and people are getting more and more and more of it in these states. Then they combine it with alcohol, they get on the road, and they get in car accidents. I'm fine with being able to prescribe it. I'm fine with not putting people into jail for it. I'm not fine with adding yet another active medicine to our list of things that anybody can overuse anytime they want.
The list of 2020 folks who are coming alongside Cory Booker is pretty long. So you've got Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Senator Warren, Gillibrand, Wyden. Merkley, so Democrats seem to be jumping on. Why are Democrats the one jumping on this?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think that Democrats are choosing issues that they think can get them votes. Hot issues, you know, things like Medicare for all, things that are slogan-esque, things that sound great. Marijuana, free lunch. I'm on here to tell you that marijuana is not a free lunch. I'm a physician. They should ask physicians. I said, Cory Booker, why didn't you read my article where I talked about this vomiting syndrome? I didn't even know about it till I found out that New York University Medical Center, where I work, had studied it. 1/3 of people with chronic use have problems with intractable vomiting. That's a real problem. And I talked to a student in Colorado where it's legal. It says, oh, yeah, Pete, we see that in the emergency room all the time. It's got long-term effects on behavior and on anxiety. I'm worried about that. It should be regulated.
Thank you very much.
Good to see
Appreciate
you.
your time. Good
Right.
stuff. All right, well, in another story, he was brutally attacked on a college campus, but now he's getting some words of encouragement from the President of the United States.
He can take a punch. Muhammad Ali could take a punch. He can take a punch. He took a hard punch in the face for all of us. Remember that. Go get him, Hayden.
Hayden Williams here next hour joining us on Fox and Friends. And Kid Rock really singing all summer long. The rocker has a big reason to celebrate with golf pro Jack Nicklaus. We'll bring it to you.
All right, some quick headlines trending for you this Sunday morning. This 13-foot-long, 700-pound alligator spotted in Georgia. The monster gator was in an irrigation ditch near a lake. Wildlife officials say they had to euthanize the gator because it had been shot and was in poor health. In this, Kid Rock making his first ever hole-in-one in front of legendary golfer Jack Nicklaus.
Oh my God, dude. I have never seen that. Excellent.
Mr. Bob Ritchie, first hole-in-one. Congratulations.
Congrats indeed. You can hear them cheering for the rock star. The big moment happened during a round of golf in Jupiter, Florida. Rachel?
We just had a National Day of Unplugging. But how do we get our kids to unplug, turn off their tech, and just have fun? Well, here with us and some toys that do just that is Maddie Mahalik. She is the senior editor for the Toy Insider, and she's brought along some helpers. So this is such a great idea. Moms do want their kids to unplug. So what are your ideas?
Absolutely. So let's start off with the Antsy Pants Build and Play kits.
Love it.
So there's a whole bunch of different kits available. We have the lemonade stand right here. There's a food truck over there.
Trendy food trucks, right?
Absolutely. So these are really getting kids to embrace their imaginations and creativity. You get all these pulls and connectors, very easy to put together, but of course with mom and dad's help.
Sure.
And then you get all these great covers. Kids can go on all these imaginative adventures and, you know, like make their own lemonade stand.
Of course. Everyone loves a lemonade stand. A little tough in this weather, maybe better for the summer.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah.
Definitely inside.
But you can do it inside.
Absolutely.
And yes, you're right. You're right about that.
So we're going to go right down here with these massive Monster Mayhem inflatable bash armor kits. So as you see, there are these larger than life. There are these inflatables, fists, and you got these.
No one can
headgear
get
too.
hurt, but they can get out the yayas.
Yeah.
Everyone gets tense.
It's lots of fun, and it's based on the massive Monster Mayhem superstars from the Nickelodeon TV show.
Okay, what are the girls doing down
All right,
here?
so they're playing a game called Orangu-Twang, and it's simple, but it's really fun. So we have this orangutan hanging on a string between two palm trees, and you take turns putting different items on the orangutan. Eventually, he'll have enough, and then he'll just, you know, leap off of the string, and then all the pieces will go flying. It's a lot of fun. You never know when it's going to happen.
I love it. I love it. This is kind of like when you had the kids doing this thing over here where this is like now you can throw darts at each other.
It's a lot of fun. So this is the Airstorm Z-Tech bow, and then it's a really cool sleek design. You've got these bungee cords you want to try.
I'm kind of confused. How does it work?
So you have these bungee cords, so you have to put the arrow in between the loops.
Oh, I see.
And then you just pull back. Ready? And then just let go. It'll send these guys flying up to 100 feet. It's a lot of fun. It's safe for indoors, too, because it's made of foam.
Absolutely. So of all the things you had, this is the thing that my girls would love the most.
Absolutely.
They're obsessed with slime.
Yes, this is slimy.
And it's glitter.
I know. It's so much fun. So this is Slimy Gloop from Horizon Group. And there's two different kinds available. We have Slimy Gloop Mix-Ums.
Why do kids love slime so much?
Because it's so tactile and fun. So we have the Mix-Ums, which has pre-made slime. It's no mess, so kids have the slime. They add in the different trendy items.
Oh, and you can add like all these little popsicles and
Yeah,
things.
so it really makes it a lot of tactile and like very hard to put down.
Yeah.
But then there's also DIY kits.
It is addictive. It's fun.
So there's also slimy glue DIY kits, so it comes with all the ingredients that kids need to make their own slimy glue.
Yeah, I mean, it's not enough to play with it. Kids really want to make the slime themselves. Yeah,
and it has everything they need, so it's
okay,
super
this
easy.
looks fun and yummy and gooey.
Yeah, so this is Orb Slimy Cafe. We love slime, we love squishies. This combines them both.
Yeah,
so we have
they do love squishies.
Yeah.
You're on trend.